So we're always trying to predict the future. Right? There's always a picture. You've always got a picture in your head. There's always a picture of what do I see? Right? We're visual creatures. Anything that I ask you to describe, you see as a picture. Right? If you're thinking back to your stressful week, you see something. You saw yourself in a certain situation. So at the same time, when we're thinking about the future, there's always a picture of the future. Now that picture can be either positive of something you want. I can't even color in the lines, but it's okay. Or that picture can be negative of something you don't want. So it can go either way. Now, if the picture is positive, if you see a good outcome, you're going to feel good. You're going to be excited for it. You're going to look forward to it, right? When you say, I'm looking forward to it, I'm literally looking. In other words, I have a picture in my head and I see forward in time and I see something that I'm looking forward to. Right? If you're having anxiety, of fear of the unknown, then it tells me that you see something bad happening. You see something negative happening in your future, which is not what we want. So we're always looking to predict the future. Your brain's always trying to say what's going to happen. Now, how it's going to do this is based on what's happened in the past. Now, if you've had a history, if you've had a history of negative things happening in the past, your brain is more likely to predict negative things happening in the future. It's going to say these things happened, therefore it's probably going to happen again. So if you've had experiences where things went wrong or things didn't work out or any number of negative outcomes, that's your brain's kind of default programming is where you're going to go just naturally. Does that make sense so far?
It makes sense. And my stress is also from stuff that I can't really control because there's so many things that go on in a deal that it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll get into like tactically what to do, but I want to just show you what's going on in the
Sure,
mind, right?
sure.
So in other
Thank you
words,
for
you're seeing the deal go wrong, right? You're seeing things unravel. You're seeing something go wrong with the deal, probably. Is that the case?
yes.
Yeah, cool. So you're seeing the deal go wrong, and if I saw the deal going wrong and I was working really hard and doing a bunch of stuff, I would be stressed out too. So there's a few things that we can do with this. So one way is to shift your filter. So you can think this is a filter. So if I am remembering things going wrong and I'm predicting things going wrong, that's my filter. So one thing I can do is I can start to look for evidence of things going right, and I can start to expect things going right. Now, there's a few ways to do this, right? One is just to go back through and think about all the successful deals you've had and start just training your brain and training your brain to focus on the things that went right instead of the things that went wrong. Now, one way you could do this is you could literally go take a piece of paper and just write out all the successes, all the wins, all the good things you've had. Also, what do we do at the very beginning of this call? I said, wins, give me your wins. Why? Because I'm training your brain. I want you guys focused on what's going well and what's positive, because that's going to train you to literally see more of it and get more of it. Now, another way to do this, the nuclear option, is what Pete and I did this in Vegas, and we can go with hypnosis. We can literally go take this whole past thing and wipe it clean and leave everything through a positive filter. And now your brain now has a blueprint from the past, and we're not changing the content of what happened, but we're changing the perception so that you look at it, you see wins and you see good things happening. And now your brain's saying, hey, good things happened in the past, therefore it's likely to happen again in the future. That's another way to do
That
it.
sounds too easy though. How do you do that?
Yeah. Pete, was it easy?
It was a short period of time. So in that regard, it's easy, but you are confronted with a lot that you need to address and think about. So it's difficult in that aspect. But in terms of the time frame of getting results, it's easy.
Yeah. 2 days. And is it permanent, Pete?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. So it's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day and they mentioned you. They're like, holy shit. When I first saw Pete, I was like, I wasn't sure if this was going to stick. Um, because I was talking to somebody about who was possibly thinking about going and doing it themselves. And I was like, hey, talk to Evan, talk to Pete, talk to others. He's like, I don't even need to talk to Pete because I can literally see the changes in Pete. Somebody was saying they literally he's like, I don't even need to hear it. I see the differences in him. So James, to answer your question, it's not like flowers and sunshine, super pleasant, but time period, it's very, very short. 2 days and all the shit's gone forever. So
How are
it's
we gonna do this?
I'll chat with you offline. I'll chat with you offline about it.
Okay,
There's some prep work involved. Yeah, I'll walk you through a little bit more what that looks like.
okay.
Um, that's one that's kind of the nuclear, that's like the shortcut option is if you just want to fix it, get all that shit gone, the stress, the overwhelm, all those things go away, and then your brain's just predicting uh positive future outcomes. All right. But for so that's like the nuclear option, the do it for you, the fast version of it. But here's other ways to continue to control this. Right. So again, the manual way, if you will, like the way that's like volume and repetition and willpower is training your brain to see things going well. So anytime you're starting to feel stressed out and anxious, you ask yourself, what am I seeing? What's the picture I'm seeing in my head? And what do I want to see instead? And the funny thing about anxiety and fear of the unknown is we want to go negative, right? We go negative and we see bad things happening, but you can't predict the future. Like nobody can really predict the future, right? So if we're going to assume things are going to go wrong, why not just assume they're going to go well and go right? So that's the mindset shift. And again, it does require you to have awareness of that and to shift your mind when you start to feel that way. But if you are feeling anxious and you are feeling fear of the unknown, what picture am I seeing? What's the outcome I'm seeing? What do I want instead? And you can with volume and willpower and repetition, you can train your mind to see different outcomes. Or I can just do it for you. So that's the kind of the big picture thing of what's going on here is if you're having anxiety about anything, it's because you're seeing a negative outcome, right? You're seeing something bad happening. So the trick is to change the channel and see what you want and see something positive happening instead. So that's with the anxiety. Now, the other piece that you mentioned is overwhelm. And I saw some hands up that have gone down. So um, hopefully nobody lost their hands. But so the overwhelm piece, James and everybody, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, have you ever had too many tabs open on your computer and all of a sudden the screen freezes and then nothing works?
No. I just close them
No?
out.
Okay. Well, you're maybe better organized than I am, but so sometimes this will happen is I'll have too many windows, too many tabs, too many apps open. My computer's trying to do too much stuff. There's only so much processing power that it has, and it'll just freeze. Right? It'll just stop working. And a lot of times this is what's going on with overwhelm is your brain, your mind only has so much processing power. And if you've tried to put too much stuff into it and give it too much to do, it will kind of freak out and create this feeling of overwhelm, which is basically too much processing, too much information. I don't know what to do. And usually it kind of shuts down and you freeze, which is why people in overwhelm don't actually get a whole lot done, at least not as much as they could. So when you're in overwhelm, there's a here's how to get yourself out of overwhelm. So first thing is just brain dump everything on your mind. This means get everything. A big part of what causes overwhelm and that information overload is your brain's trying to remember information and process lists and tasks and stuff, which it's not really good at. Your brain's good at solving problems and your brain's good at figuring things out in the moment, but it's not good at storing a bunch of information. Right? This is why we have writing and computers and hard drives to save shit. This is why they invented writing in the first place. They invented writing in the first place so that they wouldn't have to remember how much rice there was in the storage. They just could go look at it and remember it. So, and even one of Jared's mantras is the only thing I have to remember is that I'm going to forget. I think that's Jared's. So if you're going to remember anything, just remember that you're going to forget and write things down. So if you ever find yourself feeling overwhelmed, You've probably got too much shit. You're trying to remember things. Also, our memories suck. Human memory is terrible. We can delete memories, we can create false memories. People can remember things that never happened. People can remember things differently than ever happened. So memory is actually a terrible storage system as far as like holding information. I can give, and just to again go back to the original point, Pete, with this process, we went back and changed the context of those original memories, which is why they don't create anxiety and create stress anymore. Or we can go back to those original memories and we can literally edit them so that they give you confidence and make you feel excited and optimistic about the future. Right. So memory, this just goes to say memory is terrible and it's also very, very fluid. So the first thing I want to do is just get things out of memory and just get it organized. So get everything out of your mind and brain dump. So write down all the things. What are the tasks? What are the things you're trying to remember to do? What do you need to do? All that shit, get it out of your head and get it on paper. First step. Second step, prioritize. What is the best next thing to do? Sometimes I see people feel overwhelmed because they're trying to think 10 steps ahead and figure out all possibilities and like, again, it's too much. So you actually don't need to know everything. You don't have to know 10 steps ahead. Just what is the best next thing to do? You always know the next thing to do. Whenever someone's like, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do this, you know the next thing to do. You always just know the next thing to do. So don't worry about 10 steps ahead. Don't worry about all the things. Where are you right now and what's the next thing to do? That's why the attraction ladder is such a good system, because I don't need to figure out every single social step to move things forward. All I have to do is just where am I now and what's next? Now and next, now and next. So prioritize what's the best next thing to do. And then action. I can spell action. It's debatable. Action. Do the thing. So we'll call this organize. So organize, brain dump everything on your mind. Prioritize what's the best next thing to do, and then do the thing. And as soon as you start doing that, you will stop feeling overwhelmed. So as a bonus, work with the feeling of calm enjoyment. Even if it's something you don't want to do, find the enjoyment in it. Find the enjoyment in the work. Find the enjoyment in whatever it is you're doing. If you're not doing it with enjoyment, you're doing it wrong. Or as Jared says, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. So you want to find this feeling of calm enjoyment, right? Where you're chill, you're just doing the thing, even if you don't love it, right? If you ever come to my house, which I don't think any of you have my address, so but let's see, you did. You'd find that I pretty much always have a clean kitchen because I learned to love, I don't love doing dishes, right? Nobody loves doing dishes. And I have but and I have cleaners come once a week, but I don't want to leave my dishes for a week. Right. And it's doesn't make sense to hire someone to come do my dishes every day. So I take a little bit of time every day just to do the dishes and clean up the kitchen before I go to bed because I want to wake up to a clean kitchen, clean space, clean organized space. I feel better, less stressed. But here's how I learned to love doing dishes. I don't love doing dishes, but I love the payoff from doing dishes. I love the feeling that I have a clean kitchen and that it's done. And so while I'm sitting there doing dishes, I kind of just zone out, or I'll listen to a book or a course, right? We all have courses. We all have stuff we're learning. Everybody here, I know you have at least one course since you're in this one. So now if you're doing work, obviously you probably don't want to be multitasking, like listening to things, but that's just an example of learn to find ways to just enjoy whatever it is you're doing. Now here's the way to hack this. And I'm going to give you a few more things that also cause anxiety and overwhelm in the background and what to do about those. So you guys all everyone's heard of dopamine, right? Has anybody not heard of dopamine? Everybody heard of dopamine? So dopamine, horribly misunderstood. Poor little guy. People think like the fucking dumbest thing. I saw an ad the other day that's like, it's good marketing, but it's like, oh, you have unrecognized dopamine addiction. It's like everyone has dopamine addiction. If you didn't have dopamine addiction, you'd literally die. You wouldn't do anything. You would literally never do anything. You just die. So and people also think dopamine's like the reward chemical, right? It's like, no, it's not. Dopamine is what motivates you to do shit. It motivates you to get on this call, motivates you to eat, motivates you to work, motivates you to go talk to girls and have sex, motivates you to whether anything you're doing is motivated by dopamine. So here's how dopamine actually works. And everybody gets this wrong. Even your so-called neuro fucking scientists. Get this wrong, but I'm going to show you how it actually works and how to do this for yourself. So you take a, whoa, all right, good enough. So you take some sort of action. And that action gives you a reward. Now that reward is going to be some sort of chemical in your brain at the end of the day. It's going to be usually serotonin, maybe oxytocin. There's a few others. Sorry if we get into neuropeptides, but we're not going to go super complicated with it. But basically, you get a chemical reward. So you do some stuff, and then your brain says, that shit feels good, do more of that shit. Right? Simple enough. Now, then what it does is it stores. The brain says that was a good thing. Do more of that. Brain says do more of that shit. Should put it here. Chemical says, actually, yeah, chemical. Brain says do more of that shit and creates a record in the hippocampus, if you care. Hippocampus stores memories. So the brain says that felt good, that action you did, do more of that, and then it remembers the thing that you did. All right. Now, the you ever hear of the reticular activation system? Well, if you haven't, that's good because that's not what it's called. It's what dipshits call it. That's not what it's called. It's called the reticular formation. And this is basically the part of the brain that tells you what to focus on. Right. So earlier we were talking about what to focus on. This is the part of the brain that decides where to place your focus. And how does it know where to focus on? It knows what to focus on based on where you got chemical rewards in the past. So the hippocampus, the place where it stores the memory, creates a record in a reticular formation, points towards more of that action. So the part of your brain that decides what to focus on points your focus and your activities towards more of that thing that gave you that reward. And then here's where dopamine comes in. Dopamine is generated to motivate more of that action. And then what happens? Good question. You go back. Hang on, this is a dramatic pause for dramatic effect. All right, I want this to go like that. All right, this diagram's going off the rails. But here's the idea. So you take an action, you get a reward, your brain says that thing you just did, do more of that, and it stores that as a memory. And then the part of your brain that's generating motivation generates motivation chemical to go do more of the thing that gets that reward. And then now, over here, we'll say is during this process, dopamine but dopamine motivates the behavior that previously got the reward. Dopamine is not the reward. Dopamine is the fuel. Right? Your other happy chemicals are the payoff. So does this make sense? I know it's a little bit nerdy, but does this make sense? Yes, no, maybe so. Go fuck myself.
Yes, makes sense.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, awesome. Appreciate you guys. Otherwise, I feel like I'm talking to myself and I get sad. So this is what's actually happening in your brain with dopamine and with rewards. So how do we make this? So let's go back. So if you do something, now the reward, you can reward yourself. How do we reward yourself? You reward yourself by focusing on the payoff. So if I do my dishes and I'm like, wow, I'm proud of myself. Let me give you two formations. So if I do the dishes and I'm bitching the whole time, I'm like, yeah, stupid fucking dishes, blah, 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 blah. Then finishing the dishes doesn't really feel that rewarding. It's like, okay, I fucking did it, blah, 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 because I'm having a bad attitude about it. However, if I finish the dishes and I take a moment, like, damn, look at that clean kitchen, look at that clean sink. Future Zach, in the morning, Zach's gonna be super stoked. By the way, talk about yourself in the third person. Fun hack. Talk about your future self as a different person. And when you think about more about your future self than your current self, you'll change the way you do everything. So like, yeah, Zach's gonna be super stoked about this kitchen when he wakes up in the morning. I give myself a pat on the back. I literally, and how much do you hype yourself up? There's no limit to how much you can hype yourself up. Hype yourself the fuck up. Every little awesome thing that you do, like, you know, you're potty training kids and you make like, if anybody has kids, I don't, but I'm a former kid myself. But when you're training kids to go use the bathroom properly, you make a big fucking deal out of the stupidest little things, right? It's like, oh my God, you made a poopy in the potty. It's amazing. You're amazing, right? Um, has anybody congratulated you recently on taking a shit in the toilet like a grown up? No, right? But the behavior's already there. It's the same with puppies, right? My neighbor's has a puppy. I was puppy sitting for most of the day. I had to yell at the dog when I caught it peeing, and I reward it when it's outside peeing where I want it to pee. It will learn very quickly what to do and what not to do. If you motivate yourself, if you give yourself credit for the things that you do, for the behaviors you want to encourage, your brain will learn to do more of that because you're giving yourself a reward for that. Right. So when I do the dishes, I don't want to do the dishes. I don't love the dishes, but I'm stoked to have the clean kitchen. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, look at this clean kitchen. It's not a lot. It's a little tiny shift, but every time I'm doing that, I'm pumping more reward to that thing. And I'm telling my brain, do more of that shit. So now when I'm getting ready to go to bed and I don't want to do the dishes, part of my brain kicks in and says, no, you know what? Doing the dishes is rewarding. Doing the dishes is awesome. You like doing the dishes. And even though consciously I know I don't really like doing the dishes, I will sit there. I can sit there and be telling myself I don't want to do the dishes. My body will still go to start doing the dishes. That's how crazy this is. So if you want to hack any behavior, you got to start reward yourself for the behavior. And now your brain will start producing dopamine to encourage more of that behavior. So if you want to get the feeling of calm enjoyment with doing your work, right, do the work and then give yourself credit for doing the work and find the satisfaction, find the joy in doing the work. And your brain will then motivate you to do more of that. When you go approach a girl, let's bring this to dating and social. When you go approach a girl, if you ever go out with me, everything is awesome. Right? P went out with me in Vegas, getting rejected, fucking awesome. Everything I do when I'm talking to somebody, I think I told you guys about this a couple weeks ago, right? Even when I get rejected, it's amazing. It's awesome because it's awesome that I just did it and I had fun with it. I'm laughing at myself. The fact again, what am I doing? I'm rewarding the behavior I want to see more of. I'm rewarding myself for making the approach. I don't give two shits about the outcome. Because here's how this goes dark, is if I start now beating myself up because I didn't get the outcome, now I'm actually punishing myself for the behavior. I'm saying, oh, you did approach, I didn't get it, like fucking whatever that is. Now I'm punishing myself for the behavior I want to get, which makes it less likely that I'll get in the future. It's just like when I'm punishing the dog for peeing in the house, I'm making it less likely that the dog will do that in the future. Eventually, the dog will stop peeing in the house. If you beat yourself up every time you make an approach and it doesn't go well, eventually you will stop making approaches because you'll associate punishment and pain with the action you want to get. So instead, fuck the outcome, regardless of what happens, hype yourself up, and everything you do is amazing. Every behavior, let me rephrase that. Every behavior you want to do more of is amazing. So when I do the dishes, it's the greatest thing in the world. It's literally the most amazing thing in the world, and I'm super stoked with myself for it. When I approached a girl, even if it was a shit approach and I did terrible and got rejected and made fun of, it was amazing. I did awesome. It was so cool. I'm awesome. So be delusional with the level of how much you hype yourself up and reward yourself, because what you're actually doing is you're actually creating brain chemicals that will encourage more of that behavior. Is this making sense?
Yep.
Cool. So this applies to everything. Literally every single behavior you're doing, there's dopamine. There's some sort of reward associated with it. If you're doing a behavior you don't want to be doing, there's still a reward associated with it. So you have to take more pleasure in the other behavior that you want to see. Here's how I quit smoking weed. I used to like smoking weed. I used to be like, oh, I'm so excited. I would anticipate smoking weed. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so excited to smoke. I'm so excited to, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then I would do it. And I built up the like reward of smoking. I've made it this like really good thing, this really pleasurable thing in my mind. The way I stopped doing it, and I tried to quit. I tried to use willpower for a long time to quit. Never worked. What actually worked was when I realized and admitted to myself that I actually didn't enjoy being high. So I'd start smoking and I'd be like, I actually feel anxious and feel shit. I'd write notes to myself. I'd be high and be like, you're high right now and you feel like shit. You feel anxious. You don't actually feel any better than you did before you smoked. If anything, you feel worse. So I'd literally start writing notes to myself. And I would start reminding myself that I don't actually enjoy the behavior because it was an illusion. Weed is, somebody said this really good the other day. It's like, I can't remember. Somebody gave a really good quote that I can't remember. So there's no point in even bringing it up. So we'll move on. But the idea with any behavior is if you think you like it, then you'll reward yourself and you'll want to do more of it, even if you don't like it. So as soon as I started reminding myself that I don't actually like weed, and I started actually reminding myself that it's actually painful, it's unpleasant, I lost the desire to do it. I literally don't desire to do it anymore. Every once in a while, it'll pop up for a sec, and I'll remember. I'm like, oh wait, I don't actually like that the way I thought I did. I've been doing the same thing with porn, right? Because that was kind of my last vice. I was like, all right, I kicked weed last year. This is gonna be the year that I just stop watching porn entirely, right? And we're guys. That shit's fucking. It's positive or negative. I think it's probably got more negatives than positives. If it's not a problem, it's not a problem. I've never found it to be a problem, but there's always that little voice in me that's like, I'm probably better off without it. Right. So here's how I made that shift with porn is I started reminding myself that I don't actually like it. Right. Even though I think I'm going to, once I'm actually doing it, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I actually don't like this. I would actually rather be with a girl. And then I'll start rewarding myself. So instead of rewarding myself for a behavior I don't want, I'll start rewarding myself for a behavior I do want. So when I go out and I talk to girls and I go socialize, I focus on the positive. I say, that was awesome. I did great. That was so much fun. I start making the behavior I want more pleasurable than the behavior I don't want. And you get to control the response. You get to control how rewarded you are by it just by doing it consciously. If you're not doing it consciously, it's being done to you unconsciously and someone else is controlling you. Fun fact. So the way you change any behavior you want to change is just decide to associate more reward, more of what you want with the behavior you want. And like I said, once you wire in these circuits, people are like, change takes a long time. It takes fucking 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to build a new habit. You know how long it takes to build a new habit? It takes as long as it takes to get this little pleasure system here wired. You can do it in like a day if you like really, really do it. So you need a little bit of discipline at the beginning to just make yourself do the thing. But then once you reward yourself for doing the thing, this is where people get discipline wrong. People like discipline, I have to do the hard shit I don't want to do all the time. Yeah, that sucks. Here's what you do instead. Do the hard shit you don't want to do like a couple of times and then reward the fuck out of yourself for doing it. And then you'll do more of it. You want to take this even further. How do we train dogs? Because we're training a part of your brain that doesn't speak English. Right? We're training a part of your brain that's running your entire life that does not use words. Because if we could just use words, everybody would just be like, hey, do this. And your brain would be like, okay. Right? We've all tried that. We've all tried to use affirmations and fucking talking to ourselves to change shit. It doesn't work. So here's what we do. If I'm training a dog to stop peeing, to pee where I want him to pee, if I really want to train the dog, what am I going to do? Dog does what I want. We give it food. I'm going to give it a treat. Right? It's a great treat. Our brains love. I'm not condoning this on a large scale, but sugar. Now, this is a slippery slope. Don't get into the habit of doing this a bunch of times. But if you really want to condition yourself, at least initially, to do something else, give yourself a little piece of chocolate every time you do the behavior you want to do. Right? Not a lot. Don't eat a shit ton. Don't like go crazy with this. Right? Give yourself an M&M or give yourself a little piece of chocolate, whatever the fuck it is. I have little milk chocolates that I will literally only, they're good. It's like organic, healthy-ish, still chocolate, still some sugar. But what I'll do is because that's kind of like one of my guilty pleasures. I don't eat a lot of sugar. But if I want to, so I make it conditional. So I say I'll let myself have that treat, but I will only do it as a reward for other behavior I want to encourage. So I won't, here's how to fuck up your brain. Here's how to really ruin your brain circuits. Do a behavior you don't want to do, and then eat to feel better afterwards. You're literally chemically rewarding the behavior you don't want, and you'll encourage more of it. So what I'll do is I'll eat chocolate, but I'll only do it like after a behavior I want to encourage. So for me, like sometimes that's like going to the gym, which is also at post workouts actually the one time it's actually good to eat that stuff because your muscles need the carbs. Um, but let's say there's some other behavior I want to condition myself and train myself to do, and I don't want to do it. I'll do it, and then I'll have a little piece of chocolate. And my brain goes, "Oh, cool!" Right? Like rewarding a dog, because the part of your brain that we're training is about as developed as a dog, which is very, very developed. Dogs have a lot of feelings, they have a lot of emotions, they're very smart. So that's how we do this. So does this make sense?
Yep.
Nice. Cool. All right, I'll give you guys one more chunk, and then if there's no other questions, I'll hypnotize you guys and get everybody off and running. So here's a few other things that cause anxiety. So one, not doing what you said. So I said I was going to do something and I didn't do it. Will give you anxiety. It's destroying your reputation with yourself.
Is that also part of integrity?
100%. Yeah. Integrity means doing the right thing when no one's watching. Actually, we'll call it. Yeah, integrity, doing the right thing, especially when no one's watching. How you behave when no one's watching will show up when people are watching. So that stuff, whatever you're doing that you think nobody's watching and paying attention to, they're not seeing you do whatever that is, but they are seeing the effects of it. And it's showing up in your confidence, your charisma, everything you're doing. Other people are seeing that. They don't know what you're doing, but they know that something's off about this guy. This guy's got less confidence, less anxiety, more anxiety, less charisma. And people can feel it, especially women. Women are very, very in tune to this subconscious behavior because they had to be. Because they had to get good at spotting the guy that knew how to say a bunch of stuff but not have his life together. Because if she let that guy get her pregnant, her baby's not going to make it. So women are very, very good at this. So a huge part of what's showing up in your confidence and your anxiety and your charisma and all these things is what are you doing when nobody's watching? How are you behaving at home? So a good goal to strive for is be the person at home 24/7. Just be the same person all the time. P again, you've been with me in person. Am I the same? Am I the same person?
Yep.
Yeah.
Always.
You saw me on duty, so to speak. You saw me off duty, right? You'd see me like doing stuff behind the scenes. Now again, you're gonna have fluctuations, right? I'm gonna be more amped up, engaged when I'm teaching than when I'm just chilling. And there were some times I'm like, hey man, I just need to chill for a few minutes and just like have some quiet time. But I'm still the same person, right? Now it's a constant goal, right? It's a constant, I don't want to call it a battle, but it's a constant thing to strive for is staying in integrity. Because staying in integrity is kind of like going to the gym, right? You can get in shape, but you can also fuck it up by not doing it. And So the other reason integrity really matters is because you're building a reputation with yourself. You're building a reputation with yourself. You're building trust with yourself. And if I have a habit of saying something and then not doing it, if you had a friend that always said they were going to do something but never followed through with it, you'd stop trusting them, right? I wouldn't trust that friend. I wouldn't trust the fucking thing they say anymore. So the big thing is you've got to build a reputation with yourself, build a good reputation with yourself. We'll get rid of so much anxiety between controlling the picture in your mind and building this reputation with yourself. You will change your entire freaking life. How do I change the reputation with myself? Oh, a couple of, I'll do that last here, but other causes of anxiety and overwhelm. Focusing on what you can't control. So there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people right now that are very, very stressed and anxious about political shit happening. They're focused on what they can't control. I'll notice this myself. I'll get caught up doing reels or threads or going down the fucking rabbit hole of fucking crazy shit happening. All of a sudden, I'm like, wow, I feel like shit. Oh, but I also spent the last hour focusing on things I can't control. Let me focus on what I can control. So what do? What's the best next thing to do? And then do the
Wash
thing.
your dishes.
Also, yes. By the way, keeping your environment clean, guys, will give you a lot of confidence. Underrated, but
I went on a cleaning, purging spree after the weekend.
nice. How'd you feel?
Fine, great until it wasn't, until
Yeah.
it got cluttered again.
Funny how that
I'm
works.
doing another one right now.
Yep.
So
So make it a daily thing instead of going through these sprints where you go crazy clean, then crazy dirty, just a little bit every day, just maintain it every day. Right.
oh,
But having your
there's
environment, what's up?
oh, I was gonna say there's certain aspects that are still clean, but it's just assessing the entirety of my life and purging certain aspects of certain projects that have been lingering forever. Okay, I'm going to address that, purge that, either commit to finishing it or commit to making it go away based
Nice.
upon the new information that I have. Okay, cool. Here's the new me. I said once that I was going to do this to be integrity. For example, I'm re-engineering, repowering a boat for my dad, and it's like, okay, cool, I still want to do that, so I'm going to recommit to that. But there's other projects around the garage and a house that I committed to that I told him, you know what, I'm not interested in doing this any longer. But so still reaffirming that integrity and changing new direction.
Nice. So that's good, right? Clearing out old stuff. That's actually a good one. Old stuff, right? Old stuff, things. This kind of goes back with not doing what you said you were going to do, right? Not finishing projects, not going through with things, right? That's all kind of goes with there. So the way you're managing your life, again, when people aren't watching off camera, here's another one. Grooming and hygiene. Huge one. If you're ever in a fun fact, if you're ever in a end of the world disaster zombie apocalypse, keep shaving and keep cutting your hair. Stay clean and groomed and hygienic. It tells your brain that everything is normal and everything is okay. It's really, really weird, but as soon as you kind of get a little bit out of hygiene, one, it kills confidence and influence with other people, but also your brain will start getting anxious because it thinks that we're going back to primitive wild world. So um, what else? I said I was going to tell you guys one more thing. What was that? Or maybe that was it. I feel like I had one more note to hit. But if I can't remember and you guys can't remember, then maybe it doesn't exist. If somebody watches this on the recording, send me a message and be like, hey, you forgot to talk about XYZ. So takeaways from today. What are you guys' takeaways from today?
I guess like authenticity, being the same person The route.
Yep.
Clean your room.
Yep.
Clean your mind.
Mhm.
Dump it. Get all the randomness that's bouncing around in there down on paper and either commit to it or don't.
Yep. Good.
Get excited
Yeah.
about things that you want to continue to do.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Get excited about behaviors, specific behaviors you want to reinforce, keep doing more of. Or if you reward yourself for it, and if you reward yourself a little bit, and then your brain will start to pick up on it. And then every time you do it, it just becomes this self-fulfilling cycle. I remember what I was going to say. It was just a little tactic. Here's a tactic you guys can do as well. So the idea is you want to remind yourself, if you want to really, this is actually everyone's challenge for this week. So your challenge for your weekly challenge is go for 1 week, be the exact same person on camera, off camera, in every situation, just be you. If there's stresses or anxieties, that's fine. Sit with them. It's okay to feel stressed or anxious or sad, or it's okay to feel unpleasant emotions sometimes. They will pass. Where we get in trouble is when we try to run from them, hide them, numb them. Again, my favorite numbing agents were weed and porn. They're great at it. If you also look at what's being very heavily promoted in our society right now, weed is being legalized everywhere. Porn is fucking cancer in our society. And then with OnlyFans and girls, it's really, really bad. That's a conversation for a different day. If you look at that and then the numbing out effect it has on our society, it's just the unintended consequences of both of these things will be interesting to see in the coming years and decades. But so my challenge to you is to, for 1 week, just be the exact same person on camera, off camera, at work, at home, be that same person. You will feel yourself a new level of confidence. And real confidence is not, I have to be super on and tough and blah, 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 at all the times. Sometimes real confidence is just like, you know what, I'm not feeling the way I want to feel, or I'm feeling a certain way that I'd rather not be, and just being okay with it, or even talking about it. Real confidence is being able to just sit with that stuff and be okay with it. So here's the hack for this. Here's a way to remind yourself, because sometimes we have to put physical, again, we were talking about environment is important, keeping your environment clean. So sometimes if we have to remind ourselves for things, putting things in your environment will show you. And I will show you guys, I will give you guys actually here, and I'll hypnotize you guys. I'll give you guys a walkthrough of my actual environment. I'll literally show you all the things that I have in my space that remind me of all these things. So yeah, I'll give you guys a live demo. I will prove to you, I will show you guys right here, live right now on this call. I will give you live proof that I do everything that I'm saying. And this isn't just theory, this is practice. But here's what you do. You put reminder in your environment to behave as if all the people you respect were watching. So this could be something like a sticky note that says, how would I behave if everybody I love and respect was here? I'll show you guys how I do mine. I will literally check this out.
Is that why people used to have pictures of family members and everything everywhere?
Depends which way they're facing. If someone's family members are facing them, then that's for them to see. If someone's family members are facing out, that's for clients and people at the desk to see, so that they get trust to be more family oriented. So if you go sit at a lawyer's desk and they've got pictures of their family facing out, they don't see that. That's for you to say, oh, they're a family. Because again, what do they want me to think? Oh, they want me to think that they're a family man. But it's funny you guys ask that, because it is a great motivator. And it's funny, I wasn't planning on doing this, so